So, you're thinking of running ads for your business, but you don't know where to start. Well. You clicked on the right video. You clicked on the right video because I'm gonna break it down for you. And I know you've probably seen the 101 men sat there saying, okay, this is how you run ads for your business and this is what you do and these are the steps you need to take. Well, my name is Luella and I run a advertising and creatives agency, basically helping hair and beauty brands grow through paid advertising. Goodness, that was a mouthful. Paid advertising and creative strategy. I want to walk you through exactly what people don't tell you before you start. No fluff, no silly, confusing jargon, just the stuff that's gonna help you make money. So let's get into the video. First things first, you need to understand is that ads are an amplifier. I'm gonna put it right here. Ads are an amplifier, not a fix. So ads amplify what's already working, they don't fix what's broken. And I think that's such a key thing when people who already don't have the foundations in place want to start running ads. What you need to understand is that if your product is not already converting organically, or your website is poor, or your messaging isn't clear, ads won't magically change that. In fact, they will highlight those weaknesses even more. You've got to think of it essentially like this. If your funnel is already leaking, putting ads into the mix is just going to pour more and more water through the cracks and make things worse. So before you run ads, you need to ask yourself, do I have a clear offer that sells? Do I know who exactly, and I mean exactly who my target or ideal customer is? Do I have a website or landing pages that guides people clearly and well to actually buy? If the answer is no, that's where you need to get clear on. Because if the foundation is not strong, I mean, it's with anything really, I don't know. Let me think of an example. If you're making a cake, if you don't have the key ingredients, your cake's not gonna taste nice. It's not gonna stand up and look pretty. Like, I hope that works as a good example. If you're trying to build the body of your dreams, but you haven't got the foundations right, you don't know what food you need to eat, you don't know what exercises you need to do, you're not gonna get to that end goal. Anyway, what I'm saying is if you haven't got your foundations right in other things when it comes to your marketing, ads is gonna be like putting a bow on a crumbling, horrible, messed up painting to make it look pretty. There we go. Essentially, to put it straight, you're just gonna waste your money. If all the other things didn't resonate and you're thinking, oh, I still wanna do it, you're gonna waste your money. There we go. Hopefully that puts some sense in your head. Section 2, know your numbers. Another thing that's really important with ads is to know your numbers beforehand, or even if you've started running ads, these are things that you need to consider. When you're, running ads, if you don't know your metrics and you don't know your numbers, I love my examples in this video, but I was gonna say, it's like driving with like a blindfold on. You're not gonna know where you're going. You're not gonna know your destination. It's like, let's be real. So here are a few numbers. What I'd probably do as well is add a couple here and all over the video of a couple metrics that are really important to know when it comes to advertising. And a few examples I can give actually are AOV. So you wanna know your average order value. You wanna obviously know your profit margins. Can you actually afford to spend? Because I think what's really important is you might be running ads and think you're running a profit, but if you've got, for example, a really high cost per result, or the cost per result is higher than your actual product, you're not making a profit. Like, you need to know your numbers. Anyway, so customer lifetime value is an important thing to consider. Are people buying from you once? Are people buying from you again? Of course, ads help with, you know, retaining customers and repeat customers, but you want to know your lifetime customer value. You want to know your conversion rate. How well does your site convert people into buyers? And I literally made a video on this the other day too, about how your website affects your business and things you can do to improve that. So why does this matter? Why do the numbers matter? Why do these things matter? Basically, you don't just want clicks with ads, you want profitable results. And even if it looks like, okay, you're spending X amount and you've made whatever, and it seems to be more than you've spent, if it costs you, like I said, £25 to get a customer, but your average order value is £14, you're losing money. Come on now. That's not what we're here for. Ads are part strategy, they're part science. It sounds complicated, but it really isn't. Once you've got like the foundations, it will be a breeze. But these are key things that you need to know. The next super important thing is your creatives, because this, essentially the creatives are everything. Yes, the metrics and the back end and the analytics are very important too, but I will let you know, as long as you have a good targeting and a great creative, without getting technical, you're sorted, you know what I mean? Anyway, I think people really underestimate the power of the creative itself. I think your video, your headline, your visuals, that essentially is what's going to stop someone from scrolling. And you have to think of it, again, I always mention this, but people's attention spans are not there. So you have to be standing out, and there's a million other brands out there. There's influencers, there's all these creators. People are getting their dopamine hits all when they're scrolling through TikTok, wherever, this, that, whatever. You have to make creatives that are actually stopping people from scrolling. So how do you actually make a good creative? Obviously, this is all industry dependent and it can be different for everyone. However, you know, the key things are that you want to focus on problem and solution storytelling. I think across the board within a lot of industries anyway, storytelling works really, really, really well in building trust and building connection with your customer, but also showing, okay, this is for example, if you're doing a UGC video, this is the problem that this person had before using the product or service, and this is what the person, you know, is like after, and obviously they're going to be in an ideal state. You also want to use relatable results, not polished, not aesthetic and beautiful looking results, but real results. I think a while ago I used to work, just really quick story time for like reference, but I used to work at a company called Rucker Hair, and I reference these guys all the time because I think what they've done really, really well is, yes, we used to do a lot of studio content, but they used to do a lot of real relatable stories, whether it's from older women, younger women, people who've lost their hair, who've lost their confidence. Yeah, and I think those videos would often convert a lot better than the studio super polished before and afters or those types of content. Anyway, so you also want to speak directly to your customers' pain points, really hone down on this, and that's why it's important to understand your customer beforehand, because you want to create content that speaks to them directly, and they can be like, they're seeing this content and like, okay, I really resonate with that. I think this product or this service could really help me. You also want to include social proof, whether this be reviews, testimonials, UGC, they work really well. Now, testing. I could do a whole video on that. Testing is really, really important, but you want to test multiple hooks and multiple different formats. So my next piece of advice would be to start small and then scale. I don't think really you need to be spending thousands and thousands of thousands straight away. Yes, you do need a good budget, and often that is the thousands, but I'm not talking like 10, 30 plus thousand. For me, that's because I've seen businesses worked with businesses on the smaller scale and worked with businesses on the bigger scale. Those, you know, with ad spends of like 1.5k a month all the way up to 30, 50k a month. So I really think when it comes to smaller businesses starting with ads, you shouldn't be having a super big budget and just throwing it away when you can utilize a smaller budget, understand your audience a little bit better, and then scale. I think that's really important. I think in the first few weeks anyway, there's going to be a whole bunch of learning that's going on. And even for Meta on that platform, if you've never ever run ads before, they take a while themselves to actually understand. When you put in the targeting, you put in all these things, they take a while to understand your audience and putting out your ads to the right people. So I think what you need to kind of take before you're spending the thousands and thousands on ads. So from when you first start putting out the ads, you need to understand before you scale what creators perform best, what audiences are responding the most positively, where is the drop off happening and from what audiences or from what creatives and things like that. So it means when you do scale and when you do put more money behind that, it's money being used effectively, essentially. So I just think, especially when I've gone into accounts and I've done audits, and also from the research that I do myself, a lot of brands putting loads of money behind their ads, but they have no real plan. Don't get me wrong, if you have a strategy out and you're using someone who knows what they're doing, then I think how you have to think of it is, imagine you're paying for data, right? And you're paying for data, not just sales. The more data you have, the more it can help you build smarter campaigns. The first couple of ads that you're putting out, you're going to learn a hell of a lot, and you have to take those learnings and apply it to future campaigns when you do scale. Anyway, this is a really important thing, and that is retargeting. I think that really is the hidden gold mine, and I think every single platform can do retargeting so well, especially if you learn the ins and outs of what platform you're using. For example, Meta, then you can really retarget your people, your target audience really well. And that will basically, I think big brands know how to do this really well, but small brands, I think, leave a lot of money on the table because they don't know how to do this properly. Even you know, when people are like, oh my gosh, I was literally looking at something the other day, or I think now I'm seeing it over and over again, or I think that my phone is listening to me. I keep seeing things advertised that I've spoke about or done stuff, like looked at in the past. I'm telling you, not that your phone listens. I don't know that information. Maybe it does. Hopefully not. But marketers, or there's advertisers getting paid a hell of a lot to retarget and make sure that you guys are seeing people's companies' ads over and over again. When you click on a website, that's another video I should do, actually, setting up your pixel properly. There's a piece of code that basically takes your information and is able to target and track when you're on these platforms. So a couple examples of different things you can target. You can target website visitors, you can target people who've interacted with your content, you can target people who have added your product to their cart, who have clicked on a specific product page, who have watched your videos to a certain point, whether it be all the way through or 30 seconds through or whatnot. You can target people not 30 days later after they've kind of already purchased. You can target people who've already purchased, and then 30 days later remind them that, okay, here's our product again, and remind them, because you might not want to target them straight away. You can target any which way you want, and there's so many different options. But not doing this, I think a lot of first time people who are doing their ads don't do this very well, or don't utilize it at all actually. But if someone has clicked on your ad, viewed your product, added to cart, they are a warm lead. You have guided them through that. You know how we spoke about, if you watch my other video, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, you have walked them through that funnel, and now they are a warm lead and they've shown that interest. So being able to retarget them and put out content that is going to convert them is really important. So again, I'm going to do, what did I say in the last video? I always see this on LinkedIn. TLDR. Too long, didn't read. Too long, skip through the video and have come to the end. So if you've done that, or if you've watched the video, which is great, ads can be a very powerful tool when they're used correctly and with a strategy behind them and knowing the foundations of ads themselves. So if we're to recap and do our quick TLDR, you're going to make sure you've got a solid foundation. You've got to know your numbers. You've got to focus heavily on creatives. Start small, test and learn. And lastly, don't forget about retargeting. So when ads are done right and done well, they're not just going to get you clicks. They're going to build brand awareness, which is very important. They're going to build trust, which is even more important, build connection, and most importantly, out of all of them, they're going to generate sales and they're going to put money in your pocket. And if you're at the point and you're ready to grow and you're ready to scale and you want a strategy that actually works to grow your business, anyway, that's my plug done for the video. So yes, whether you're doing it yourselves or you're bringing in someone to do it, I hope this video has helped you and given you a bit of clarity. And yeah, I am wishing you the best with your business and running ads. And yeah, let me know in the comments or drop me a message or whatever and tell me how it's gone. And I hope you liked the video. If you did, please drop a like and subscribe. I will catch you very, very soon. Lots of love.